Hi students, we're doing Unit 5 review and I'm going to go through all the problems and hopefully this will help you when you take your test. For number 1, it says that we're going to select the expression that involves a shift of the digits to the right by 2 places, okay? So what you're going to do here is you're not going to solve all of these problems. What you're going to do instead is look for something that has 2 zeros in it, and that will make this first number move to the right 2 places. So this has 3 zeros, that's out. 10 to the second power is the same as 10 times 10, which is 100, which does have 2 zeros, so B would work. This is 10 to the third power, which is 1,000, that's not going to work. 10 to, just 10, that's 1 zero, that won't work. That's also 1 zero, that won't work. This has 2 zeros, so that would work. Okay, we're looking for something that has 2 places. If it says shift to the right by 3 places, then we would look for 3 zeros, the 3's, okay? But it said 2 places this time. Classify each quotient as being equal to 52, equal to 5.2, or equal to 0.52 or 52 hundredths. Write the letter of the quotient in the correct box. I'm going to put them where they go. Okay, again, this is something similar where I have 10 to the squared, 10 to the second power, which is 2 zeros, it's 100. So when I don't see the decimal, it means it's at the end, and I'm going to move this 2 spots, 1, 2, which means it would look like that. So A would go over here. Let's take a look at B. This is 10 to the first power, so it's just 10, so it's 1 0. So when I don't see my decimal, it's in the back, and I'm going to move it once. So it goes in between, it's right here. That would be B. Let's take a look so I did A, I did B. Let's take a look at C. Again, I don't see a decimal, so it's at the end. And this is just 1 0 here, so I'm going to move this once to the left because I am dividing. So that's 52. C would go there. Here, this is 10 to the second power, which means I'm going to move my decimal over twice. It's at the end, 1, 2, so that's 5.2. So that would be D. This is 10 to the third power, which means I will have 3 zeros here, which means I will have to move this 3 times, my decimal. 1, 2, 3, which would put E here. And I'm deciding to move the decimal. You can shift the numbers. It's the same thing, right? And this one has, again, 3 zeros, but I have a larger number, so I'm going to move it 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and it puts me at 5.2, so that is F. So we have C over here, B, D, and F here, and A and E for number 2. Let's take a look at number 3. Explain why 4 hundredths divided by 3.6 has the same answer as 4 divided by 360. Okay, explain. It does not want the answer to this problem, which happens to be a 9 right there, right? But that's not what they want. What they want is for you to explain how this is the same. So you're going to say that 4 hundredths over 3.6 is equivalent to 4 over 360 because you multiplied. And if I have the 4 in the ones place and it started here, that means I moved my decimal 2 spots. So if I moved it 2 spots, that's 2 zeros, that's 100. So because you multiplied by 100 over 100, that's it. You multiplied by 100 over 100. So 4 hundredths over 3.6 tenths is equivalent to 4 over 360 because you multiplied by 100 over 100, to get an equivalent fraction. Okay, that's all you'd have to do for that. Okay, for number 4, why does dividing 5 by a decimal less than 1 give a quotient greater than 5? Okay, if you're dividing 5 by a decimal less than 1 is giving you a quotient greater than 5. And the reason why is because you are dividing 5 into smaller parts than one whole. And so you're going to get more than 5 parts. You are You are dividing 5 into parts smaller than 1 whole. So there will be more than 5 parts. Okay, so this is just asking you to explain. I'm going to just draw something on the side so you understand more. If I have 5 pieces of chocolate, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 5 pieces of chocolate, and I'm going to divide it by a decimal that's less than 1. Let's say I want to divide it by 0.5, okay? Or halves, right? Because I have like 10 friends I want to share that with. So I'm going to take each bar and cut it in half, which gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 pieces left. Yes, they are smaller, but there are 10 pieces, and the answer is 10 when I take 5 and I divide it by 0.5. 5 divided by 0.5. The first number would go on the inside of the division box. The second number would go on the outside of the division box. I'm not allowed to have a decimal in the divisor, so I'd move that once, and then move that, so it'd be 5 divided by 50, which is 10. Okay, and there are 10 pieces here. So my answer is 10, but the reason why it's greater than what I started with, which is not normally what you get when you divide, but when you divide with a decimal, you're getting a larger number than what you started with because you're cutting it into so many more pieces. Okay, so that's the understanding there. You're just cutting it into smaller pieces, so you get more. For number 5, a farmer ships 4 times as many oranges as tangerines. 4 times as many. The farmer ships 8,260 oranges. So how many tangerines does he ship? Write any equation and then solve. So my first equation is, I'm going to let tangerines be, let's see, 4 times as many oranges as tangerines. So 4 times n, those are my, well, I guess let's do t for tangerines. 4 times t for tangerines. And then that would equal 8,260 oranges, because he does 4 times as many oranges as tangerines. So if I multiply whatever the tangerines is times 4, that's what I would get is the oranges. So in order to solve this, I have to think to myself, 4 times what equals 8,260? So I'm going to work backwards, and I'm going to divide. I'm going to take 8,260 and divide it by 4. 4 goes into 8 once. I'll do digit by digit. 4 goes into 8 twice, which is 8. That's a 0. Bring down the 2. Let's not get tricked here. How many times does 4 go into 2? It does not go into 2. So that's a 0. 0 times 4 is 0. So I got a 2, and I bring down my 6. 4 goes into 26 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. I've got 2 left over, and I bring down my last 0. 4 goes into 20 evenly 5 times. So it looks like the tangerines equal 2,065. Okay? If I were to draw this, I would have this is 1, 2, 3. This would be my oranges, and these are my tangerines. So there were 4 times as many oranges shipped as tangerines. So if this is 2,065, 2,065, 2,065, 2,065, 2,065. Let's see if my answer is reasonable. 2,000, 2, 4, 6, 8. It's about 8,000. That looks about right. Okay, so I think that my answer is reasonable. Let's go to the next page. So for number 6, Jamal buys postcards of Washington, D.C. for $10.20, not including tax. Each postcard costs 85 cents. How many postcards does Jamal buy? Okay, so he spent that much. We're not worrying about tax. That's how much each one costs. So this sounds like it's a division problem. And I'm going to take, this is my dividend. Here's my divisor. Okay, and I know that I cannot have the decimal in the divisor. So I'm going to move that twice, multiply it by 100, or just move the decimal over twice, which means I'll move my decimal over twice here. So it looks like I have 85 divided by 1020. I'm going to rewrite that over here to give myself more room. 85 divided by 1020. Okay. 85 goes into 102 once. Okay. I'm going to regroup here. That's a 10, then a 9. Okay, wait, 7, 1, bring down the 0. 85 goes into 170 twice. So the answer would be 12 postcards, okay? For number 7, Paige's backyard has an area of 95.9 square meters. The length of the yard is 14 meters. What is the width? So this tells me I'm going to do division. This will be my dividend and this will be my divisor. So I'll have 14 divided by 95.9. Okay, 14 goes into 95. I don't know. Let's try 14 times 5. 14 times 5 is 20. That's 70. Looks like we need to go higher. Let's try 14 times 6. That's 24, 6, 7, 8. That looks nice. So we'll put a 6 there, put my decimal up there. That's 84. So I've got 11 left over. Bring down my 9. And let's try 14 times 192. So let's try 8. 8 times 4 is 32. 8, 9, 10, 11, 112, that's close. So we've got an 8 there, 112, 7 left over. I'm going to add a 0, drop it down, because when I'm working with decimals, I have to add zeros until I get 0 as my answer, as my, to the answers of the subtraction problem. 14 goes into 70, exactly 5 times, we just did that. So we are done. And it happens to be 6.85 meters. Okay, let's take a look at number 8. Mr. Adams divides 223 markers equally among 26 students in his class. He puts the extra markers in a box. What is the least number of markers he puts in the box? Okay, so we have to figure out the division problem, and it sounds like we're using the remainder as the answer. So let's go ahead and divide first. 26 students, and we've got 223 markers. So 26 will go into, let's try, I'm going to think about this as 25, like that's a quarter, okay? So if I have 4 quarters, that's $1, but I've got like, look, $2 almost, so let's try 8. So I'm going to go 26 times 8. See what I get. 6 times 8 is 48. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 208. And I cannot get closer, so 8 will work. 208. I will subtract to 1, 5. We've got 15 left over. So the smallest number of markers that he will put in the box when he's dividing is going to be our remainder. It's 15. Okay, that's kind of confusing, the least number of markers he puts in the box, but it's just asking for your remainder. Take a look at number 9. A park creates new habitats for 182 monkeys. Each habitat will house 8 or fewer monkeys. What is the least number of habitats the zoo will need? So we've got this many monkeys, and 8 or less monkeys can go in a habitat. So we need to figure out how many habitats we need. So I'm going to divide. If I have 182 monkeys and I can put 8 together or less, I'll figure out how many. 8 goes into 18 twice. 8 times 2 is 16. Got 2 left over. 8 goes into 22 just twice. 8 times 2 is 16 again. And we'll have 6 monkeys left over. So I know that I can't have monkeys left over. They have to have a place to live. So it says 8 or fewer monkeys can go in a habitat. So we'll have 22 habitats, but then we have these 6 monkeys left, which means I will need 23 habitats. Now I have to explain what I did with the remainder. What did you end up doing with the remainder is that you rounded up, okay? You took your answer and you rounded it up because you can't leave the monkeys with no habitat, okay? So what did you do with the remainder? I rounded and let me move this so you can see better. I rounded the remainder up because another habitat is needed for the 6 leftover monkeys. Okay, let's take a look at the last one. Number 10, it says solve, and then I have to express the remainder as a whole number, and then I have to show my work. I have to draw a model to show how I solve the problem. There's a lot for me to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is solve. Okay, 57 goes into 97 just once. Got 20 left, bring down the 0. 57 goes into 200, that's close to 60, so 6, 12, 18, probably 3 times. Let's figure that out. 57 times 3, 21, and 15, 16, 17, 171, that's good. That's 3, 171, and I'm going to regroup all of these. So we've got 29 left over. But, oh, good. Express the remainder as a whole number. So the remainder is 29. There's my whole number. Show your work. Draw a model to show how you solved the problem. I'm going to use an area model. 970 divided by 57. And I wanted to know what my answer was. So that shows me I'm doing division. Okay. So for number 11, it says circle the word or phrase that makes the sentence true. When you divide by 100, each digit shifts to the, okay, when you divide, your numbers get smaller. When they get smaller, they go, the numbers, the digits go to the right when they get smaller, okay? Now, if I'm doing 100, there's 2 zeros, so that is 2 places. If it said multiply, they would probably shift to the left. If it said 10, that would be 1 place. If this said 1,000, that would be 3 places, okay? Number 12 says select each quotient that is correct, and I have to mark all that apply, so there could be more than one answer. I am going to look at this. This is being divided by 100, which means I'm going to shift the digit 2 times to the right. 1, 2. My 3 would be in the ones place. That works. Okay. Let's take a look at this one. 3 divided by 10. I would shift my 3 1 place to the right, which means my 3 should be 3/10. That says 3/100. That is incorrect. 27. I would move my digits twice to the right because I'm dividing. So 2 would be moved to the 10th place. This one is correct. And then the last one, 60 divided by 10, which means I would move my 60 over once and it should be in the ones place, and that is incorrect because that's way too big. Okay, so fill in the table to complete the pattern of dividing by powers of 10. All right, 4.72 divided by 1/10 is the same as multiplying this by 10, which means I would shift my decimals over or shift my number over well, now I'm multiplying. So I would shift my number once to the left. So the 4 would go 1 over to the left and be in the tens place. So it'd be 47.2. Okay. If I were doing it 4.72 divided by 1/10, I moved this over once, which means I moved that over once. So this became 1 divided by 47.2, which would just be 47.2. This is 2 spaces after the decimal, which means I would multiply by 100, which means I would shift this number. Oh no, that one's fine. And this one, if this is 1/10 and this is 1/100th, then they probably want 1,000th. And there it is. And that would mean that my digit would shift again one more place, so it'd be 4,720. Number 14 says solve 2,412 divided by 3 and explain how you know your answer is reasonable. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is solve 2,412. 3 goes into 24 evenly 8 times. Bring down my 1. I know that 3 will not go into 1, so I'm going to put a 0 there. Bring down my 12. 3 will go into 12 4 times evenly. Explain how you know your answer is reasonable. Reasonable means they want me to write, estimate and round, okay? So I would round my 3. I'd round that to 5. And I'd round my 2,412. I'd probably round that, since I rounded to 5, I'd round this to 2,500. That would make it really easy for me to divide. And 2,500 divided by 5, let's see. Well, that won't give me an answer very, very close. It would get me 500. So I could just keep 3 the same and round that to 2,400, and 3 divided by 2,400 would give me 800, and that's more reasonable. So I would not round like this. I would keep 3 and round that 2,412 to just 2,400, because 3 goes into 24 very evenly, right? We said that in the beginning. And then the last one, number 15, Nina is putting equal amounts of oatmeal into 4 containers. She has 37.6 ounces of oatmeal. So how many ounces of oatmeal should she put into each container? This is how much she's got, and she's only got 4 containers, then this is a division problem. We know that 4 goes into 37 9 times, because 4 times 9 is 36. And then I'll bring down my 6. Oops, I forgot to put my decimal up there. And 4 goes into 16 evenly 4 times. So that would be 9.4. And that would be 0. So now we're going to select each quotient equivalent to 28 hundredths. And we're going to mark all that apply. Okay, again, 28 hundredths. I want the 2 in the tenths place. Right now I have the 2 in the ones place, and I want to move it once over. If I want to move it once over to the tenths place, I would need just 1 0, and here's 2. So I don't think that's going to work. Cross that out. Okay. Now I've got 28. I'm trying to move that 2. It's in the tens place, and I'm trying to move it. It's in the tens place over there. 1, 2 spots. So I would need 2 zeros. This is 3 zeros. That's too many. So that's out. Okay. 280 divided by 10 to the third power. Okay. If I were to do 10 to the third power, I would take my decimal. Another way is looking at your decimal. It's in the back here, and I would go 1, 2, 3. Oh, that would give me that, so that works. Okay. Then with D, I have 1 place value. I'm going to move this 2, so the 2 would go from the 10 to the 1, from the ones to the tenths place. Move that decimal over there, and that would work. Okay, because 2.8 divided by 10 to the 1 power is 1 decimal move. So that works because it becomes 0.28. And then the last one is 1 decimal move. It's right here. It would be 2.8. That would not work. Okay, because I'm looking for 28 hundredths. 17, it says lunch for the band costs $137. The band has 56 members. So they want to know how much does each member's lunch cost, which is a division problem. So I will take $137.20 and divide that by the 56 members of the band. So 56 would go into 137. I will round that to 60. Let's say 6, 12, probably just twice. So 56. I'm gonna do that math right there. I'll show you. 56 times 2, 10, 11. 111 would be as close as we can get. So I'm gonna move my decimal up. Divide that by 2, 112. Sorry, not 111, 112. And I would get 25 left over. Bring down my 2. Again, I'm going to round that to 60, 6, 12, 18, 24. Maybe it goes in 4 times. So let's try 56 times 4. That's 24, 20, 21, 22. That's about as close as I can get. So I'll put the 4 there. That's 224. Regroup here because I need to give that more. This would be 8. This would be 2. Bring down my last 0. 56 goes into 280. Let's see. We multiply by 4. Let's multiply by 5 and see what we get. 6 times 5 is 30. 25, 26, 27, 28. Wow, it's even. So that's 280. And it looks like everybody's lunch costs $2.45. All right, for number 18, what is the correct answer for this problem? And what mistake did Marco make? Okay, so we have 2 parts here. Marco got a quotient of 70 when he divided 49 by 7/100ths. Okay, 49 divided by 7/100ths. I'm going to have to take this number, put that over 49, and I'm going to have to multiply this by 1 to 100 to get that out of there. So I'm going to go this way, multiply by 100, 100, which would get me 7 over 49 with 2 zeros. Okay, so I've got 7 divided by 4,900. 7 goes into 49 7 times. And that's even, and then those 2 are just zeros. So it should be 700. So what mistake did Marco make? Seems like he maybe didn't move the decimal place over twice. Maybe he just multiplied by 10 instead of 100. So what mistake did Marco make? Marco didn't move the decimal over enough spaces. He needed to multiply 7/100ths and 49 by 100 over 100 to get an equivalent whole number fraction. For number 19, it says write the letter of the expression next to the number that shows its quotient. So I have to put the answers where they go, and I'm going to have to find all these answers. First, I'm going to divide 845 by 27. And why don't we do expanded notation on this one? So I'm going to round that to 30 and see how many times 30 goes into 84. 3, 6, 9, probably just twice, but let's see. 27 times 2 is 14, 54, and 27 times 3 is 81. So we can go in 3 times. Oh, 30. This would be 30, right? So 27 times 30 would have gotten me 810. Let's do that. 810. Subtract, I get 35. I know that will go in 1 time. 27 times 1. And I have left over 8. So 31, remainder 8, right there. So that's A. Let's take a look at B. I have 6 divided by 190. I'm going to do expanded notation again. 6 goes into 190. 6 will go into 19 3 times, so let's try 30. 6 times 30 would be 180. We've got 10 left over. That's okay because we're doing expanded notation, so we can build upon that. 6 goes into 10 one time. And I've got 4 left over, so that's 31 remainder 4. There's B, 31 remainder 4. Add that up, right? 31 remainder 4, and I'm out of room, so I'm gonna get some more paper here. So we did A, we did B, and C is 612 divided by 15. So we've got 612 divided by 15. 15 will go into, I'm going to do 61 here. And I know that 15 plus 15 equals 30. So 4 of those should get me 60. I've got 12 left over. 15 doesn't go into 12. So it looks like so I put a 0 there, and if I multiplied this out, this would be remainder 12. So 40 remainder 12. Got it right there. That's C. For D, 9 into 363. Now that I've kind of narrowed down on my answers, I'm going to take a look at this. 9 goes into 36 4 times, right? So it would be, and then it doesn't go into 3. So it would be 40 with a remainder of something. And I see that I already have a 40. So I'm going to put D here because I know that that one's correct. I did the math on that. These other ones aren't 40. And I'm, like I said, 9 goes into 36 4 times. So it's got to be this one, okay? I'm going to use process of elimination for these last few if I can. I might not be able to because those are both 24. Which one would get me a remainder of 9 and which one would get me a remainder of 10? Not sure. So I guess I'm going to have to do the math on this one. 298 divided by 12. 298 divided by 12. 12 times 2 is 24, so I'm going to try that. Get 5 left over, bring down my 8. 12 times... Let's see, 12 times 5, I think, is 60. So maybe 12 times 4. 12 times 4, 12, 24, 36, 48. I've got 10 left over. So that's my remainder 10. 24 remainder 10 is E, which means with process of elimination, that must be F. Okay? Let's take a look at number 20. James lives 3.42 kilometers from school. Megan lives 76 hundredths of a kilometer from school. The distance James lives from school is how many times as long as the distance Megan lives from school? Show your work. So I think I'm going to draw a picture. I'm going to start with this. There's James' house. Put a J in there for James' house. And here's S for school. This is 3.42 kilometers. Now Megan lives 76 hundredths of a kilometer from school. So she's very close to school. This is 3.42. Megan is like right here. Put M for Megan, and to school she is 0.76. So we want to know how many of these is in the distance from James' house, okay? So if I want to know how many of those is in there, 3.42, and I'm going to divide that by 0.76. And that should get me what I want to know, how many times as long as the distance. So I will take my numbers and divide them this way, and I know that I can't have a decimal in the divisor. So I can either just move the decimal over twice, which is the same as multiplying by 100. I'm going to move that twice and move that twice. So now I've got 76 divided by 342. Okay, 76 times $76 times, let's see, 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. Let's try 4 times. 6 times 4 is 24. 28, 29, 30. I think that's as close as we can get. So we'll do 4. That's 304. And we're going to regroup here. This is 8. This is 38 left over. So, but we're using decimals, right? So since I have that decimal there, I'm going to add zeros until I am, let me see. I'm going to add zeros until I'm all done. So 76 goes into 380. Let's try 76 times 5. That's 30, 35, 36, 37, 38. Oh, perfect. So that's 380. And we have 4.5 as how many times as long the distance, how many times as long as the distance Megan lives from school, as James does. Okay. Now for number 21, I'm going to move this over, get it a little closer. We're going to fill in the table to complete the pattern of dividing by powers of 10. So we did this on a previous problem, but 36 divided by the 10 to the first power is the same as just 36 divided by 10, okay? 10 to the first power is just 10. And when I'm dividing by 10, I know that if I don't see the decimal, I'm just going to put it at the end and move it once, because I'm going to shift the digits to the, let's see, I'm going to shift the digits to the right, okay? So it should be 3.6. This one, 10 to the second power is 100, okay? Which means if I have 100, 2 zeros, I'm going to shift the decimals, or the decimal twice, shift the numbers twice, right? So my decimal would be right there, and that lines up. And this is a little line asking you what power is this to. If this is 1,000, then that is to the third power. A lot of times kids forget this problem, so don't forget to do that one, okay? And I'm going to take my 336, the decimal's down here. I'm going to move it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to have to put a 0 as a placeholder, so I have 0 right there as a placeholder. Okay. For this one, we have to circle what we're going to do with the remainder. Are we going to ignore it, round up, or form a fraction with it? Okay, so we have to truly understand the problem to figure out what to do with the remainder. So there's a movie with 289 aliens who plan to visit Earth. Each ship can hold as many as 3 aliens. What is the least number of ships needed? Okay, if I divide 289 by 3, I'm probably going to get a remainder. What do I do with that remainder? That's leftover aliens. Do I leave them? No, we never leave behind people or aliens, okay? We have to include them in a ship. So we will have to round up with our decimal. It's not asking you to actually solve. It's just asking you to think about what you would need to do with the remainder. If I had a remainder when I was done dividing, that means I have leftover aliens, which means I need to round up because I need another spaceship. Let's take a look at 22B. We have a kid named Basma who cuts ribbon to tie onto balloons for a carnival. She has 925 and 6/10 inch of ribbon in all. If each ribbon must be 24 inches long, how many ribbons can she cut? If she's got to do 24 inches of each, and that's how much she's got, with a remainder, if she needs 24 inches, if she's got a remainder, we're going to have to ignore that remainder, because that means that that's just leftover ribbon. And if it's not quite 24 inches, then I won't be able to do that. For number 22, we have 6 miners that will divide 15 ounces of gold dust equally. How many ounces of gold dust does each miner receive? Okay, we're talking about gold here. So we're not going to ignore and just leave gold we found, nor can we round it up and just make up gold that isn't there. So we are 100% going to have to form a fraction and divide that gold dust up equally among these 15 people. So it's not, 15 will not divide into 6 equally. So we will have a decimal or a fraction that we have to make. For this last one, we're going to write the correct number in each box in the place value sections to find the quotient. So I'm going to say this is a division problem, and it says 2,976 divided by 8. 2,400, which means I know that 8 times 3 is 24. So 8 times 300 with those 2 zeros would be 2,400. I would get 576 as my answer when I subtract these two numbers. And then I would say 8 goes into 576 how many times? Well, they already have 70 here. So what they want me to do is say, if that goes in 70 times, I need to know 576 goes here. I'm rewriting that there, okay? 8 times 70, well, 8 times 7, 8 times 7 is 56 plus a 0, and that will get me 16 left over. 16 is rewritten there, so I have to say how many times does 8 go into 16? That's twice, and 8 times 2 is 16, and there is no remainder. Oh, I'm sorry. This answer, they're looking for the total, 372. So that's our total right there.